quickly move on to work on this button here. So I want us to be able to make sure that once we click on that button right there, we should be able to open up a modal or a profile drawer basically around here, right? So let us quickly work on that. But before that, you remember that in the last part when we're trying to log out, we still kept we still stayed in the same page, right? It looked like our protected routes weren't working. So I want us to quickly work on that. And then how we are going to do that is we'll go to the middleware here, and inside the middleware here, all we need to do is to add comma, and then we add the path to our conversations. So I'll say what's conversations slash path, and we add this asterisk right here, nice and clean. And now when we log out, it should be able to take us out of our conversations page, right, and into our login or sign up page, right? So that is it for that. And the next thing is, right after working on this middleware, what we are quickly going to do is we need to go into the header.tsx here. So header, nice and clean. Then inside the header.tsx, we can just squeeze this out, and then we create an empty fragment here, and then I'll just cut this and I'll come and paste it here, nice and clean. Then we can open this up, right? Or if you like, you can still squeeze it. And then what we come and do is we'll come and see what's profile drawer, and then we are going to quickly pass okay, let's just create the profile drawer. Then we pass in a bunch of props that we need. So inside the components here, we are quickly going to create a component called what? Profile drawer. Okay, profile drawer .tsx, nice and clean. And then all we have to do is what? Our RAFCE, and that should allow us to open up the profile drawer like this. And then what we'll do is we just come and import it from here, nice and clean. Now right after working this out, we want to pass in a data prop, and that data prop would say what's conversation, right? And then inside here we see what is open, and then is open is going to be what? Drawer open, but we will create that state in a minute. So after this drawer open, we want to pass this on close, and we want to set it to what? This empty function or empty parameter here, and we set it to set drawer open right here, and we set that to false right here, nice and clean. So right after setting this up, we should basically come here and then create the state over here. So we say what's const drawer open, set drawer open. Then we say what? Use state, and then we pass in what? The default value, which is false, nice and clean. Alright, so right after working on this, what we quickly want to do is we want to go into the profile drawer here, and let's create our interface first. So for the interface, we'll say what? Profile drawer props, here like this. And then inside, what we are going to take in is what? Is open, and is open is obviously going to be a boolean. Then we take in the onClose, and then the onClose is obviously going to be an empty parameter function type, which is what? Void. nice and clean. Then we have the data, and then for the data type, we are going to set it to what, conversation, like this. And then we see, and what, we are going to take users, and we set it to what, user, like this. Then we have to import this too as well, nice and clean, over here from prisma/client. All right, now right after setting this up, we want to quickly recognize it inside our function by saying what, react.fc is going to be what, profile, is going to be profile drawer props, nice and clean, like this. Then we now receive all that we need to receive. So we take in the is open, the data, and onclude as well, nice and clean, like this. All right, so right after doing this, right, the next thing we're going to do is we need to be able to receive the other user data. So other user data, so let's quickly do a const. Then inside here we would say what, use other user, and then we import that, nice and clean, at the top over here. Then we pass in data. So use other user, you can see it has been imported nicely from app/hook/use other user. Then right after getting the user data, we are going to be doing a few use memos, right? So, or a few memorizations here. So what we are going to do is, I'm quickly going to do const joined date. So joined date is going to be what, use memo. So we can use the use memo hook, or use memo snippet, I mean. Then you can just open it up empty, make this, and just import it too. So yeah, so you just import it. So I've already imported it with my tab. You get access to this when you use Keza as your code editor. So yeah, so this is joined date right here, and we want to make sure that inside here we are going to be passing in the, okay, let me not do it right now. I want you to understand what is going on. So let us quickly just return what we need to return. So that is what format, and then this format is going to be coming from date fns over here, nice. Then after importing it from your date fns, what you want to do is you want to see what, new date, as you know already. Then inside here we pass in what, other user dot created at, nice and clean. So after that, you want to make sure that you've opened this string, you brought a comma, you open up the string, and then you passed in pp, and then that should take out the error and make sure everything is working good. Now this particular memoization, it depends on the value of this other user dot created at, and since it's dynamic, we want to set the dependency to what, either other user dot what, created at, nice and clean. All right, so right after setting this up, the other ones are quite similar to this memoization, so I'll just copy that, and I'll come here and I'll come and paste. I'll come here, I'll come and paste, and that should basically be it. And then what I'll do is I'll just come here inside the second join date that we have, and I'll just change the title. So I'll just say what, I'll just change the name to title, and then I'll come here and then I'll change the name to what, status text here, like this. All right, then inside here what we want to do is we want to take inside the title, we want to return data dot name, or other user dot name. All right, nice and clean. Then over here over here we want to make sure that the status text we are returning, or we are checking for a few things, right? So, oh come on, I think all of a sudden it started to get slow, but don't worry, we'll work on it. So yes, and I forgot to make sure that your profile drawer here is set to use clients as well. Nice and clean. Okay, yeah, now let's continue to work on our stuff over here. So inside this status text, we are going to return, we can return active, but we would make this dynamic in the future when we start implementing our real-time messaging. So we can return active by default, and then we can come and say what, check for if what data dot is group. So if data is group, then we want to return something else, which is what, the number of members. So we say what, return data, sorry, return data dot users data dot users dot length members. Right, nice and clean like this. All right, then we make sure that inside the dependencies we already know what is changing here. So we set the dependency based off of the dynamic data. So that is going to be what, other name, other user dot name, and data dot name. So we can just copy it like this, and then we come and paste it here, and make sure that we add our comma, and that should basically be it. Then we'll come here and also check which ones are the data that is changing. We can just pass in with data. So I don't know why the PC is starting to act this way. Okay, so data like this, nice and clean. So right after setting this up over here, what we're quickly going to do is we're about to come and create our elements here. Now before we start creating our elements, we are going to need headless UI. So go ahead and go into your terminal and run with npm i headless UI. But if you like, we can come here and come and see so you can come here, so you can see headless UI React, right? So you can simply just copy this and then come and install it over here like this, and then make sure you pass in what's your legacy peer deps like this, and then I'll pause the video so that once it's done we would just continue. Okay, so our headless UI has been installed successfully, and so what we are going to do is I'll just come here and then I'll clear this, I'll open up the brackets, and then I'll quickly say that what transition. Then what I'll do is once this transition comes, oh, did it import it for me? Yeah, it did import it, but I wanted it to be created like it's an emit element. So yeah, this is our transition that we have here. Then we want to make sure that inside this transition we are setting it to what, root, like this. All right, so we have the transition dot root over here, and then inside this transition dot root, what we want to say is what, we want to set a few props to it. All right, so we'll say what, show. So we'll say show, and then this show we are going to set it to what is open, and then we say what as fragment. So as what fragment, and then this fragment we are going to import it from React. Okay, so I needed to load up so that we can import it. Okay, if it's still not working, you can simply just copy it like this, go up or scroll up to simply come here and then import it like this. Alright, so now that we have our fragment imported nice and clean, so what we want to do now is we want to come inside this transition root here, and then we'll create this dialog that we are going to import from. We are going to import this dialog from what? From our headless UI. So I need this dialog to show. It's not showing. Okay, so what I want to do is, let me quickly clean this and then simply reload my window so that I can get rid of any non-responsiveness or any unnecessary errors. Okay, let me pause the video and come. Okay, so I think it's already about to load up. Okay, let me pause for it to load up. Okay, so it is done loading. So what we want to quickly do right now is, I want us to quickly come and create the dialog like we said before, and then this dialog we are going to be importing from headless UI. So yes, so we just import it like that. You can see it is imported above, right? So you can see it's above here. Then let's come down. Then inside here, let's quickly make it. Let's quickly close it up. Then inside here we are going to set it as a div. So as what? Div like this. Then we would come and see what? Class name. So we are giving it a class name of what? Of relative. So we'll give it a class name of what? Relative and z50. Nice and clean. Then we'll come here and then we'll give it an unclose. So this unclose is going to be what? Unclose. Nice and clean. Alright, that is it. And then right after setting this up, we want to come inside this dialog here. Then we'll come and create a transition again. So transition. Then we would simply open it up like this, nice and clean. Then what we are going to do is, inside this transition that we have here, what we say is what? Transition.child. So .child, then we copy this one, come here, .child like this. Then inside this transition.child, we see what? As. So we say we want to set it as what? I want to set it as, so we say what? Div. Okay, set it as a div, nice and clean. Then we'll come here and we say what? Enter. So inside, how do we make sure it enters? We say what? Ease out, and we set the duration to be what? 500. Nice and clean. Alright, so right after setting the duration like this, we want to come and see what? Enter from. Then inside we see what? Opacity. We want to set the opacity to, so we want to set the opacity to 0. and we want to do enter 2. All right. Okay, so enter 2 is going to allow us to simply write our function for it, right, or our animation for it, right? And then this one is not going to be anything complicated. It's simply going to make us put in what, like opacity 100. And why is that? And that is because if you are saying let's enter from to be 0 for your opacity, then obviously you want to see what, review the whole thing when it's done, right? So opacity 100, nice and clean like this. Then we now have to implement our leave. So for the leave, what we say is what, ease in, and then duration is what, 500. Okay, alright, so ease in, duration is 500. Then inside we see what, leave from we are going to see what opacity is what, 100, and we just come and paste leave to. So these are basically something like keyframes, right, that you can work with your transition elements. And then over here, what we are going to quickly say is what, we're going to create this div, and then this div is simply going to be what, a self-closing tag. So I'll just do it like this. There's no need for all this, right? Then inside we just pass in this really cool class name. So we see what we want it to be fixed. We want to see what, insert 0, right? Then we give it a bg black. Then we set the bg opacity to be what, 40. So that is basically it for that. Then what we are going to do next is under here, under the transition dot child over here, we're going to create this div. All right, then inside this div we want to pass in a few class names. So the class name is going to be what, absolute, right? Insert 0, overflow hidden. All right, nice and clean. Then inside this div right here, we're going to create another div. All right, then inside this div that we are creating, we see what, class name, and then this class name is going to be a little longer, so I'll say what, pointer event what pointer event none. And then we'll come in and set fixed. Then we see what, insert y 0, and then we see what, right 0. Yeah, right 0 like this. Then we see what, flex. Then we see max width full and pl10. Nice and clean. All right, right after working on this, what is the next thing that we are doing? We need another transition over here like this. So we say transition dot child like this, and what we are going to do is you can just close it up like this, so we get rid of any error, and then we can come and pass in a few nice class names. So I'll say what, class name, sorry, I was quite wrong about that. So I would say what, as, and here I'll set the as to be what, fragments, right? So fragments that we imported from React, nice and clean. Then inside we need to set our keyframes. So we'll see what, enter. So inside our enter prop, what we're going to pass in is what, transform, like this, transition, then ease in out, right, ease in out, and what, duration 500. nice and clean. All right, then inside here what we are going to say is what enter from, and this enter from is going to what translate, so translate x full like this, and then we are going to enter to, so enter to where, so enter to what, so we say what translate x, so translate x 0 like this. All right, now we need to set the leave. Now the leave is going to simply be what transform, right, transition ease and out, ease and out, and we have what duration with 500. Nice and clean. Then over here, oh, I don't know why it's not, okay, it's not responding. Okay, so inside here we need to set up our leave to, so our leave, so our leave from is going to be what, or leave to, so our leave to is going to be what translate x full. Alright, so this is basically the transition for our child. We have done that nice and clean. Now we need to come inside here and then create a dialog panel. So we say dialog dot panel, then we close it up like this. Then inside we are going to pass in a few properties, right, or a few class names. So inside this dialog, what are the class names that we are passing in? So we see what class name, then inside this class name here, what we want to see is what pointer event none, okay, or we can even set it to auto instead, pointer events auto. Then we see what w screen, then we see what max width, so max width md, and then that is it. Then after this dialog panel class name that we have here, we want to have another quick div like this. Then inside we pass in a few class names, so we can say class name, then we come and pass in our class name, and that's going to be what flex h full, flex h full, right, like this. Then we see what flex cool, then we see what overflow y scroll, right, then we set the background to white, and we basically see what py6 like this. Then we have shadow xl like this. So right after setting this up, let's test. Okay, it looks like our terminal might not be working, so let me quickly create. Okay, so I'll say what cd, and then I would say npm run dev like this. All right, so okay, so npm run dev should be able to run our new feed messenger dev server for us. Okay, so while it's doing that, let's move on to more stylings. All right, so that we don't waste too much time. So over here that we have our Excel, what we are going to do is we are quickly going to come inside here, right? So I can just come and refresh. So inside here, what we are going to do is we can just pass in our div, and then this div is going to have like a few class names. Okay, so let's come here and then say class name. Then the first class name is what, px4, like this. Then we set the small strings px6, like this, nice and clean. Then inside here, right, so inside here, what we are quickly going to do is we want to come and add another div like this. Okay, I don't know why the snippet is not showing, but you have to add another div like this. Then this div is also going to have, a few class names like this. All right, then inside we see what, flex, item start, and then what, justify end. All right, so that is basically it for it. Then inside this div that has this class name like this, what we are going to do is we need another class name in there, and then we need another div in there, right? And then I don't know why the snippet isn't showing, but yeah, this is how we can define the div, nice and clean, like this. And right after defining it, we need to pass in the class name. So we see what's class name over here, like this. Then we see what we can set the ml. So we see ml to be what, 3, and then we see flex, then we see h7 like this, then we see item center like this. Then we'll come here, come and cut this out for better formatting, then we come and test it, right? So let us quickly test. Okay, it looks like it's still loading for some weird reason. Okay, oh yeah, I'm coming. So it looks like when we click on this, it doesn't open up because we have not set our function up like this. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that when we click on that 3 dots icon over there, it basically handles the opening of our drawer, right? So let's quickly go to header.tsx and then scroll down to, okay, we need to expand this, and then we scroll down to the bottom over here, and then over here what we do is we see what, set. So we see set drawer open to be true like this. All right, so once we hit it like this, it should be able to open up the drawer, but it looks like our NextJS has still not loaded yet, one way or the other. Let me try refreshing. But our project is, or today's lesson is a little long, especially this file. So let's just finish it. And then move on. So we have this div right here with these class names, nice and clean. Then inside we are going to pass in a button, right? So we pass in a button, okay, and as usual we are not seeing the oh okay, let me quickly come see what button. All right, nice one. Then inside this button we're quickly going to pass in a few things, and that is we are going to come here and set the type to button, like this. And then right after setting it to button, we want to quickly come here and then set an on click, and then this on click is going to be equal to what? On close. That's because it's going to be our close button here, like this, right? Then right after that we want to come and pass in the class names that we need. So I'll say class name like this. Then inside we come and pass them. So we see what? Rounded md. Okay, it looks like our snippets aren't showing again. So rounded md. Then we have bg white. Then we have what? Text gray 400. Text gray 400, like this. Then what else do we have? On hover, so whenever we hover over it, we want it to be what? Text gray 500, like this. Nice and clean, like this. All right, then right after setting that up, you want to quickly come to focus and then set the outline to none. All right, then after that you want to see what? On focus again, you want to set the rank to be indigo 500. Okay, then on focus you want to set the rank offset to 2. Like this. All right, then we come here and then we come and cut this line. Then inside this button here, we see what? Span. And as you can tell, the snippet isn't showing, so we have to create it ourselves. So span like this. Let's quickly check on our page right here. I still don't know why it's not refreshing, to be honest. It's just everything has become so slow, but let's hurry up. Alright, so this is span, and then inside the span we want to make sure that we are displaying this, so we just say close panel, and then we want to make sure that we are displaying this only when it's running on the server side, right? So we'll say what? SR only. Nice and clean, like this. All right, so okay, yeah, this is a little weird. How come the page can't be found? So I had actually faced this one before, so I'll just quickly go back a bit. Yes, then I'll just click on the chat or the conversation one more time, and then it should open this up. Then when we test it, you can see that our our drawer or our profile drawer opens up like this over here, right? So we are quickly going to create the close button, nice and clean over here. So how we are going to do that is inside the span or right under the span here, we are just going to import IO close like this. So IO close, then we can import it. Let's quickly pass the size to be what? So the size, we can set the size to be 24, much better. Then we come and import our IO clues. So we can import it from IO clues IO5 like this. Alright, so right after importing it, if we test it, you should see that it will show right here, and when we click on it, it will go away. When we click on it, it will go away, and then we can also click outside here for it to go away, nice and clean. So right after setting that up, what we want to quickly do again is we want to come here, right? So we want to come 3 divs below this whole thing. So 1 2 3 divs below here, and then we want to create another div over here like this. Okay, now inside this div we are going to be passing in a few class names. Okay, so here I would say what class name like this. Then inside this class name we're going to see what relative. We're going to say relative, then we'll say what nt0, right? Then or yeah, so mt0 or 6, I think, either one of them. So let's give it mt6, and let's see what flex1. Then we'll give it what, and give it a px4. Then we'll give it sm px6 like this. Alright, then right after doing this, we can simply just cut this out to make our code look better. And right after doing that, we want to come inside this div right here, and then we want to create another div where we are going to display our avatar. So inside this div we can create another div. We are not seeing the snippet, so I guess we have to create our divs ourselves. So inside here we can see this is it. Then we are going to pass in a few class names. So inside here, the class names that we're going to be passing is what flex call, and item center like this. Alright, then immediately after, you want to quickly come down here, and then you want to set it to what .mb2 like this. Then we can come and quickly just add the hyphen. Then right after adding the mb2 inside this div here, we want to pass in the avatar. So we see what avatar, we just import it like this. It should allow us to import it, but I guess it's still slow again, so let's just close it up like this and pass in the needed props by saying what user, and then this user that we are going to be passing, this user prop that we're going to be passing is what other user like this. And then I'll save. We need to import this avatar, so okay, I'm trying to import it but it's not showing. I guess we have to do that manually. So let's quickly come and import avatar from so here. Then we have what, I'm actually forgetting where the avatar would be, so I want to try to import it like this. Okay, but it seems a little too slow. Okay, I don't know how it has become this slow. Let me quickly pause the video and like try to remove or clear certain tags from the tags manager so we can increase the speed. I'll be back in a second. Okay. Pause. So I have finally cleared some tasks from the background and the computer seems to be back in check, nice and clean like this. Alright, so let's just move on and then come under here and create this div right here. Then inside we are going to pass in what? We're going to pass in the title. So nice and clean. And then inside over here we just create this div. Then inside this div you're just going to pass in a few class names, right? Then inside this class names what we are going to say is text sm text gray, right, 500, and that is basically it. Then inside we pass in what's a status text like this. Alright, then once we open it up you can see that the title that we set here is showing and the status text is also showing like this, nice and clean. And then right after that we want to come under, so we have this div and this div. We want to come under this status text div over here and then we'll create another div like this, right? Then inside this div let's pass in a bunch of attributes. So the first is going to be what? An onClick, and then this onClick is going to be an empty function for now. Alright, then right after that we want to come here and then pass in a few class names. So class name like this. Then here is where we pass in our class name. Alright, so here we're going to say flex cool. The snippet isn't showing again, and for some weird reason. Flex cool. It's slow again. Okay, but okay. Flex cool. Gap 3. Then let's set it to what? Item center. Cursor pointer. And let's see what? Hover. So whenever we hover over it, we want to make sure that we are passing in the opacity of what? 75. Okay, then opacity of 75. Then we see what transition should be added so that it becomes a smooth on hover effect. Okay, or it's a bunch of smooth effects on top of it, right? So right after setting this up we quickly want to have another div over here. Inside looks like the PC is slow again, so let me quickly come here, clear some tasks like this. Let's take out cyberlink plus. Okay, then I'll remove Spotify. I'm not using that right now, and yeah, I think that should basically do it. Okay, let's get back to the project and hope things work well. So this is our div, and still it's been slow for some weird reason, so let's just continue. Then inside this div we would pass in a few class names. So say class name Then inside this class name here, I'll quickly oh, okay, so inside this class name here, let's quickly pass in a few things. That is going to be what? W10, H10, right? And then BG neutral 100, neutral 100. Let's make sure it's the right spelling so we don't get trapped. Neutral 100. Then we see what's rounded full. Okay, then let's choose flex like this. Then we see what item center, and then we see what justify center as well. Nice and clean. All right, we can just clear this line like this. Then inside here, what we're going to do is we're going to pass in what IO trash, right? So this IO trash that we want to pass in, we can simply import it from our IO5, but it looks like the snippets are not showing because of the computer. I don't know, for some weird reason. So what we are going to do is I'm just going to scroll up and I will just import it manually like this, nice and clean. Then right after that, we should be able to save and see our changes reflect. Okay, the PC is slow. Let me pause and then work it out, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so we are back basically, and right after we have been able to let's scroll down. So right after we have been able to implement or import our IO trash icon over here, what we want to do is we want to come under this div and then create another div over here. Now this other div is going to contain a few class names. So class name, then inside this class name we see what text sm, right? Text sm, we see font light, and then we give it what text neutral 600 like this. Then inside what we are going to see is what delete, nice and clean. So right after doing this, you should see it appear over here like this. Okay, the MT6 should have handled the separation for us, and I still don't know why it's above. So it's here. So this avatar status text, then we have the IO trash like this. Okay, you can simply, so we have the IO trash like this. Okay, yeah, so scrolling up. Okay, let's see, it looks like we might have missed one more thing somewhere. So inside this status text here, we had missed one more thing, and that is we were supposed to have this div, and then this div was supposed to do what? So we'll say class name flex gap. Okay, so we'll say gap, so set the gap to 10, and we see what my8 like this. Then all we need to do is to take this right here, cut it, and then we'll come and paste it right under here like this, and then you should see the separation form nice and clean. So right after setting it up like this, what we want to do is under this div you want to come down 3 divs below and then create another div, right? And that should pretty much be able to do it for the project. So we are going to come, so 3 divs here, right? Then you come down and then you come and create another div here, right? Then inside this div you're going to create a few class names like this. Then inside, what we're going to say is what? With full. Then inside we're going to say what? px4. Then sm is going to be what? Space y6, like this. Then we see sm is what? px6, like this. Nice and clean. We can just clear that. So clear. All right, now right after setting it up like this, what you want to do is, okay, so we want to come here like this. All right, so inside here you want to see data dot what is group. So you want to make sure that when it's not a group conversation, you can render this particular divs that we are going to be creating over here. All right, so inside what we are going to see is what? The first thing is we want to first of all create this div. Okay, and the PC has become slow again for some weird reason, so let's just create the divs ourselves. Okay, and can't even complete it. Weird. Okay, let's try to clear some tasks. Okay, no new tasks to clear over here though. It's crazy. Yeah. Okay, let's clear that and clear that as well, and that should basically do it. So it's still not doing it, so I guess we have to still create it like this. So we have this div created nice and clean like this. So what we want to quickly do is inside this div that we have in here, we want to quickly come and create a few elements inside, right? So the first thing is we say dt, right, so that we become semantically correct. So for the dt, let me quickly give it a bunch of class names like this, so we can save just in case, and then pass in the class names. Okay, all right, nice. Now the class names that we are going to pass for this dt is what? Text sm, like this. Then we say font medium, text gray 500, then we see what? sm w or width 48. We see sm again. Then we see what? Flex shrink 0, like this. Alright, then right after setting this up, what we want to do is we want to pass in, let me quickly clear this, clean it up. Then we pass in what? Email. So email like this. Then what we want to do is here, so we see this that we have. Okay, let's not copy and paste, let's just do it. Right, so we'll come here and then say dd, and yeah, so we have to create it ourselves. dd, okay, it's here. Then inside this dd would say what, will come above here, and then come and say class name. So class name is what, so class name is what, we'll say dt. Okay, so dt, okay, so empty actually, so empty one. Then we have what, text sm, text sm like this. Then we have text gray 900 like this. Then we have sm span to like this. All right, so right after setting this up, what we want to do is we want to quickly come and say that what, other emails, other user dot email. Okay, so and now that we have this all worked out, once you open up your model or your profile drawer, you should be able to see email and then the other user's email there like that. Then right after setting that up, we can quickly just come here, or let's just recreate it again because it's basically the same condition, and then that is it. So let's just wrap this up as fast as possible. So this is what we want to check. So see that data, so if it's not a group, so if it's not a group, let's render. So if it's not a group, let's render what, let's make sure that we have an empty, so an empty fragment here. Then right above we have what, our HR element, and then we just create it by doing this. So HR element has been created, nice and clean. And then right after what we quickly want to do is we want to come in and see what, div. Then inside this div we have dt like this. Then this dt is going to have joined, so you're going to have joined, right? So here you can see that it's here nice and clean over here like this. Okay, so here we are going to have joined, and then down here under this joined we want to have what, we want to have dd. Okay, then inside this dd we are going to have time. So time, you can see, but since this is React, we just do a date, capital T here. Then we just do what, joined date, right? We just pass in the joined date like this, and then we pass in the joined date here as well. So we see what, joined date like this. All right, so right after this has been done, let's pass in the necessary class names, and then we should be done with this project. So you can see and it's showing here. So for this class name, what we're going to do is what, so class name, then we're going to say that text sm like this, then font medium like this. Then we have what, text GUI 500, 500 like this. Then we have SM. So we have SM what W40 like this. All right. Then we can have SM. And we can have SM flex shrink. SM 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 flex shrink to be what 0 as well. Nice and clean. Then inside this DD that we have here, we're not going to do too much. We're just going to pass in our class name like this, right? Open it up like this and pass in the necessary class names. You see what mt1 like this, then text sm, just like the other class names that we had above. You can just copy and paste. Then what text GUI 900, right? And then we have what sm call span 2. All right. Then we can clear this and I'll just save. And then as you can see, no, I don't want to edit anything, so I'll just save. And then as you can see, everything looks aligned like they should be. All right, so I just brought the terminal down and then you can see that this is the project right now. If we go inside here and I try to expand, you can see that it expands smoothly like this. We can simply close it like this. You can open it again and then we can close it by clicking outside the gray area. We can try to expand and then see the other parts of our application, and then we can open it up and then you can see it open up smoothly like this, and then you can send it back. And that should basically be it for the profile drawer. So in the next video we'll move on to much more interesting stuff, so hopefully I'll see you in the